Thank you so much for joining us for CBN Newswatch. I'm Efrem Graham. Ahead today, a warning from the United Nations watchdog agency. Iran is rapidly accelerating its uranium enrichment program, which could lead to nuclear weapons. We're going to look at why Iran is one of the many crises President Donald Trump will be facing in the Middle East. Today marks the 52nd annual March for Life as the battle for the unborn continues, even as abortion has become more of a state issue. As firefighters work to contain the wildfires around Los Angeles, we're going to show you how CBN's Operation Blessing is helping first responders on the front lines. And the NFL's conference championships will be played this week to determine who goes to the Super Bowl. We're going to bring you a look at the faith on the field in football. All those stories and more today, right now on CBN Newswatch.
This is CBN Newswatch.
Going to begin this Friday in the Middle East. A UN watchdog warns Iran is speeding up its uranium enrichment to putting it closer to weapons-grade levels. The head of the International Atomic Energy Agency said Iran is, quote, pressing the gas pedal. It's accelerating enrichment up to 60%. Just a step away from the 90% needed for weapons grade. Critics say that can only lead to the production of nuclear weapons. As CBN Middle East correspondent Paul Strand reports, Iran is one of the many crises the Trump administration is facing in the region.
With the ceasefires in Lebanon and Gaza, the weakening of the Islamic regime in Iran, and the fall of the Assad dictatorship in Syria, Trump's choice for Secretary of State sees chances for real change.
There are now factors at play in the Middle East that I think we can build upon and may open the door to extraordinary and historic opportunities.
Though wounded, Iran is still dangerous as it moves closer to becoming a nuclear power. It's rapidly enriching uranium to a degree it could be used in a dozen nuclear bombs. It's also working on ballistic missiles that could deliver those nukes to anywhere on planet Earth. Benjamin Netanyahu has pledged he'll never let the Islamic regime get that far, but it might take U.S. assistance and the kind of massive bunker-buster bombs only America possesses to knock out Iran's underground nuclear facilities. In Gaza, Hamas seems far from dead, and it's working to rebuild its forces and keep control of the area. While the international community backs Palestinians ruling in Gaza, Rubio pointed out what happened after they took control from Israel in 2005.
Hamas won an election, they took over, and they destroyed the place and built tunnels for terrorists to operate from. So the key is not simply governance, it's who will govern. You can't turn it over to people who seek your destruction.
As Israel continues to expand settlements in Judea and Samaria, some advocate it annex the area and recall that Trump backed Israel annexing Syria's Golan Heights for security reasons. As for Syria, the big question there is if its new Islamic leaders will become a threat to Israel, especially since in the past they've spoken openly of wanting to march on Jerusalem to retake it for Islam. There are also concerns their plan to declare Sharia law throughout the nation will make Christians and other religious minorities second-class citizens at risk of persecution. Perhaps the greatest achievement Trump could pull off would be an expansion of the Abraham Accords to include Saudi Arabia. While that would be a game-changer for the Middle East, it faces a huge hurdle, as Saudi Arabia maintains it won't join the accords till the Palestinians are on the way to their own state, bringing what the Saudis believe will be long-term peace in the region. Paul Strand, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Our Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell is joining us now from Jerusalem with more. So, Chris, Iran is reportedly accelerating its nuclear program. If Israel does decide to attack, how difficult would a strike be?
Well, Efrem, if you go back to some of the history between nuclear programs and Israel, you go back to 1981. That's when Israel destroyed Saddam Hussein's nuclear plant. 2007, they destroyed Bashar Assad's nuclear plant. But Iran is a much more difficult problem because they've learned from those lessons and they've spread out their nuclear facilities all over the country. In addition, they have built those underground, and that's why Israel will need some of these bunker-busting bombs. So it's a very, very difficult issue for Israel. They've been planning this for actually probably a couple of decades. But it's not going to be easy because all these facilities spread out and deep underground, and they need those munitions. And that's why some people are hopeful that now that President Trump is in office, that he'll be able to give the green light to Israel, provide those munitions, and even participate. Unlike the Biden administration that seemed to put a red light on any potential attack against Iran's nuclear facilities. But we are hearing right now that maybe President Trump wants to try diplomacy first before military action.
Chris, Israel is reportedly seeking an extension of the deadline for its military withdrawal from Lebanon because Israeli forces found large amounts of Hezbollah weapons in southern Lebanon, also a violation of the ceasefire agreement. How serious is this?
Well, it is serious, and Israel doesn't want to withdraw from southern Lebanon until the job is done, and they want to make sure that Hezbollah cannot come back into that region and then resume fighting, resume perhaps rocket attacks against northern Israel like they have for almost 14 months before the ceasefire. So they want to make sure that Hezbollah doesn't have the ability to go back in there, and perhaps helped by the Lebanese army. There is some hope after recently the new president was elected in Lebanon. He's a Christian, and he was a former chief of staff of the Lebanese army. There's hope that maybe he can help maintain this ceasefire. But right now, Israel wants to extend the ceasefire at least 30 days so that they can finish the job of taking out all those weapons that Hezbollah, with the help of Iran, has been burrowing into southern Lebanon for well over 15 years or almost 20 years.
Hamas is set to release more hostages this weekend. Now there are allegations hostages who have already been freed were actually held in UN shelters in Gaza. Why is this important?
Well, it's an outrage here. The President Yitzhak Herzog is going to the UN General Director and saying, look, the UN is actually facilitating the capture of these hostages. So there's just outrage here in Israel about that. The UN has seemingly been complicit in actually keeping these hostages prisoners. That adds to what UNRWA has been doing and exposed for the last 14 months or so, actually complicit with Hamas by using their facilities, by teaching curriculum that talks about hating Jews. So right now, people, now that we know these 3 hostages were kept in UN camps, it's really an outrage for people here, and they want to make sure that the UN is aware of what has happened and make sure this never happens again. And the wonder is right now, what about the other hostages? Are they being held in UN facilities as well, while these hostages are going to this drip, drip, drip of being released week after week?
Chris, while we've got you, let me ask you this. The UN's rights chief is warning 80 years after the Holocaust, anti-Semitism is rampant and Jews are facing increasing threats. What can you tell us?
Well, he says it's a wake-up call to the world. As you said, 80 years after the Holocaust, after the liberation of Auschwitz-Birkenau, that the anti-Semitism has literally exploded around the world. Many, many years ago, Ephraim, I was there in Auschwitz-Birkenau, and really it was Auschwitz is so chilling. And then when you go just about a half a mile away to Birkenau, it was an industrial murder on an industrial scale. And so 80 years after the liberation of that camp, and now we see the anti-Semitism. It's a wake-up call that he says that really needs to be heeded by nations and peoples around the world.
What do you have for us this evening on Jerusalem Dateline?
Well, we know the big news this past week was the inauguration of President Trump. We're going to have analysis by Jonathan Tobin about the new ceasefire deal that's been sealed by the Trump administration. We also have analysis by Jeff Balaban from the American Center for Law and Justice. He talks about what looking ahead with the Trump administration. We also have a story on the red heifers. That's a very fascinating story, and many people look to that as a prophetic story of what may be coming in the end time. So those are some of the things this week on Jerusalem Dateline, Ephraim.
All right, thanks a lot. Our CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell, we appreciate your insights as always and looking forward to hearing from you, of course, in the days ahead. I want to remind you at home that you can see more from the Middle East on Jerusalem Dateline on the CBN News Channel. It begins at 8 Eastern this evening. You can also watch it on the CBN News Channel or find it on YouTube. Here at home, President Trump has pardoned 23 peaceful pro-life protesters who the White House says were unjustly targeted for prosecution by the Biden administration. The president saying many of them are elderly people. They should not have been prosecuted. Trump's action came as thousands will gather in Washington to celebrate life and to renew their commitment to fight for the unborn today at the 52nd annual March for Life. CBN's Brody Carter reports on the ongoing battle to defend life now that abortion has become more of a state issue.
On the steps of the Supreme Court, once the symbol of the fight against Roe v. Wade, pro-life advocates continue to pray for the 3,000 lives lost daily to abortion.
Any woman who's pregnant, and here's my voice, to know that every child was created in the image of God, and every child is a wanted child.
Since Roe ended, abortions continue at a rate of more than 900,000 each year, and 10 states have codified abortion rights.
We march to end abortion.
We march for both mom and baby.
I just want every single baby to be valued and every single woman to know that she's important and she should be loved.
That's why thousands still march each January to remind the country of the battle that remains.
But pro-life laws do work. And in states with pro-life laws on the books, abortions have come down. And what that represents is more and more women who are choosing life.
Jenny Bradley Lichter, incoming president of March for Life, helped shape pro-life policy in the first Trump administration. She's excited about Trump 2.0 and welcomes leaders like Vice President J.D. Vance and House Speaker Mike Johnson aboard to push for renewed legislative efforts, such as the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act.
That is, if a child is in a botched abortion, is actually delivered instead of destroyed in the womb, what happens to that child?
Senator Lankford reintroduced the bill requiring that a baby surviving an abortion attempt should receive medical care. But Senate Democrats prevented the bill from getting a vote. However, the House passed its own version of the bill. For those marching, this is more than just a protest. It's a reminder that for many, the fight for life is far from over.
Again, just keep kind of wrapping moms around with love, because the reality is that even in states with very permissive abortion laws, we could see the numbers go down if more and more women are supported to choose life for their baby.
For CBN News, I'm Brody Carter.
Coming up, as firefighters have been working to contain the Eaton fire in Southern California, CBN's Operation Blessing is also on the scene to help first responders on the front lines. We're going to have that story for you when we come back. You're watching CBN News Watch.
Get your daily quick start from CBN News. A quick read on the important news of the day delivered right to your inbox. Stay current on breaking news, politics, and entertainment. Go to quickstart.news and subscribe today.
President Trump is heading to North Carolina and California today to inspect damages from Hurricane Helene and the Los Angeles wildfires. Firefighters in Altadena have been working to fully contain the Eaton fire, which has destroyed more than 9,000 buildings. CBN's Paul Petit shows us how Operation Blessing is helping first responders who are serving on the front lines.
It's hard to look anywhere in Altadena without seeing destruction. Homes, businesses, a Jewish community center, all gone.
It's like a blowtorch coming through the city of Altadena.
Across the street from these burned-out townhomes is Fire Station 11, one of the very first teams responding to the Eaton fire.
I took in those 3 days was probably the equivalent of a 30-year career.
Also on the front lines here, firefighters from Station 66, just up the road.
We had horizontal flames, so one flame is lighting a house next to it.
To say that firefighters in LA have been pushed to the limit is putting it lightly. What these brave men and women have endured over the last 2 weeks, physically, emotionally, and mentally, is even hard for a veteran like Captain Richardson to put into words.
It felt like we were at war, and excuse me. And, you know, exhaustion is something we deal with. We have to. It's part of the job, and we get through that just fine. But when you go 2-3 nights without sleeping, it starts to catch up.
Showing them gratitude is Operation Blessing's first order of business on this day. They delivered care kits, including everything from sunscreen to wipes to hydration shots.
We had a chance to pray with the firefighters as well. Everybody got together in a big circle and just prayed over them next to their fire truck, and it was a special moment.
Joining in that prayer, NFL wide receiver Andre Bocelli of the Arizona Cardinals.
I just think it's always important to give back, and in time of adversity and hurt, that's the most important time to give back.
These much-needed supplies is just one more way Operation Blessing joins the rest of this community in saying thank you to these first responders.
I've got people that have lost their homes. They're coming up and thanking us in tears, and they're homeless, and they're thanking us. And I'm still processing that.
In Los Angeles, Paul Petit, CBN News.
Operation Blessing is helping so many victims of these fires in the Los Angeles area, working with other ministries, providing food, bottled water, and much more to those in need after the devastating fires. If you'd like to help Operation Blessing's disaster relief efforts in Southern California, simply go online. The address is ob.org. There you can find out how you can donate. Still ahead, turning to sports, the NFL Conference Championship games are coming this weekend, with winners playing in the Super Bowl. And we're going to hear about the role of faith on the field right after this. Welcome back to CBN News Watch. We are just 2 weeks away from Super Bowl 59. This weekend, the NFL features 2 championship games. The Buffalo Bills travel to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs, and the Philadelphia Eagles will host the Washington Commanders. Here to preview this weekend's games is CBN Sports reporter Will Dawson. So, Will, let's start with the highest profile game. We're talking the Bills versus the Chiefs. What faith storylines are you watching there?
Well, there are Christians on all 4 teams. It's exciting. We thought about the college football playoff and all the Christians there. Same with the NFL. The Chiefs have been the gold standard in the NFL the last 6 years. They're looking to make Super Bowl history and winning their 3rd consecutive Super Bowl. But I'm interested in following up on a story that started a couple of years ago, 2023. Damar Hamlin, you'll remember, goes down with a scary, life-threatening accident on the field, a cardiac arrest accident. And there are several players on the Bills, including Josh Allen, team's quarterback, who did sort of a spiritual assessment after that happened and made him reevaluate his faith. He was on a Kyle Brandt podcast in 2023. Here's what he had to say.
Never been struck like that before, from a play, from an experience, from an emotion. It's never hit me that way before. And again, I'll be the first to admit, I haven't been the most devoted Christ follower in my life, and I've had my different beliefs and thoughts and ideas and stuff like that, but something got a hold of me there, and it was extremely powerful that I couldn't deny.
Indeed, can't deny. Over in the NFC, the Commanders are making their first championship game appearance since 1991. Why has this team, you think, been so successful?
It's been a long time for the Washington Commanders. They've had a couple of name changes. This team's been successful, and it really is the story of the NFL this year. They've been successful because of their rookie quarterback. He's been the class of that draft class, and it isn't even close, Jaden Daniels. And part of what he talks about this year has been his faith, kind of a growing faith in God with several of the teammates that he's connected with. And just recently, after beating the Detroit Lions in an upset last week to advance to the NFC Championship game, here's what he had to say.
Man, it just starts with our faith in God. As a team, man, we believe in one each other. We believe in the man upstairs. That we're going to go out there, we're going to fight. He prepared us the right way. We prepared the right way. We put in the work to get to this point now. We got a couple more games left. We got 1 game left. See who we're playing tomorrow. But, I just love this team.
I love him, too. He's a great guy. Well, after this weekend's conference championship games, we will know the Super Bowl matchup. Will and the CBN Sports team will be in New Orleans for Super Bowl 59. Incredible. Make sure that you check out CBN Sports on YouTube and Instagram. Simply, you can go there to follow along. Will, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. And we'll be checking in with you as we count down to the big game.
Absolutely, Ephraim. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. We'll be right back with an encouraging word for your weekend ahead. Stay with us. You are watching CBN Newswatch.
Download the CBN News app, 24/7 news from a Christian perspective at home or on the road. One place for all of your news. Breaking news alerts. Set daily prayer goals and pray for news stories. Read the most important news and watch CBN News Channel live. CBN News, because truth matters. Go to cbnnewsapp.com to get the app today.
Hi, I'm John Stolnis, host of the CBN News podcast, DC Debrief. I'd love for you to join me each Friday morning for the inside scoop on Washington politics. We will talk to experts, lawmakers, newsmakers, and analysts to help us take a deep dive into the important stories you might not hear anywhere else. Don't miss this unique CBN News perspective coming to you straight from the nation's capital, because truth matters.
And welcome back to CBN Newswatch. It has been a busy week filled with highs and lows. And because of that, it is right now time for your Friday Faithful. And you know, today I want to leave you with this thought. Know this, you are still here. You've survived every disappointment and you are still here. God's grace has kept you and it will keep you. You are still here and it is by the grace of God. With that word, make this a fantastic Friday and have yourself a wonderful weekend. That will do it for this edition of CBN Newswatch. You can always find more of our programs on the CBN News channel or online at cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today or any day. You can email us newswatch@cbn.com. And of course, you can reach out and touch us on Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter. We'll see you back here come Monday.